Right, let's go.
Hello and welcome to episode 27 of the Just Discourse Podcast with your host, Monotone Max, and a man with a lovely name, Matt Harpe. How are you, sir?
I'm all good, mate. Yourself?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Smashing. Looking
Been a while.
good.
We had a small hiatus
I know.
between the last couple of episodes. Life's been busy.
Yeah, not through any not through a lack of love for one another. Just life has kept
Exactly.
us busy
We've
in
been
a
learning,
in a good
building,
way.
growing, as always.
as always. And yeah, we will dive right in. Great, let's just fuck around. So I was talking to my mum earlier. She was saying that the perceived customer service level is the lowest it's been in the UK ever.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, so July 2023, the UK Customer Satisfaction Index, the UK CSI, is 76.6 out of 100, which is
76.6
out of 100. So you got a 23.4% reduction. Obviously, what it could be, which is a drop of 2 points last year, and it's the lowest score in recorded history. Is what you're looking at here, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Which is great because I was so excited to hear that, because that means that the bar has never been lower.
Exactly. So it's never been easier to excel and
This is the golden fucking time of opportunity, mate. And it was so poignant, and like the timing's perfect, because the exact sort of scenario you're facing in your business right now is that's the exact point. It's brilliant because that's the exact market to address that sort of issue right now.
Yeah.
I loved your dad's idea from it as well. Play the fucking long game. That was good. That was real good. Yeah.
And that's what you got to sort of juggle with. It's, you know, if they're a pain in the ass customer who is not likely to give you a repeat business and not likely to be with you for years. Now, mine's obviously a residual income business, so we don't make our money on selling one product. We make our money on selling the same product 1,000 times, or re-renting the same product, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times a year. So it's the opportunity cost of, if you're never going to have them back and they're fanning you about, then you're going to be a bit sterner with them in terms of, well, look, you got to pay the money. Let's not fuck about.
Yeah.
But of course, if they're going to be a long-standing customer, then do you play it as, look, it's unfair that you've had a service and you're kind of expecting not to pay for it for any good reason other than your feelings. However, if they're going to be with me for the next 10, 15 years, then it's worth taking the hit. And in the back of their minds, I've done this with people before, is you'll have it with like a large customer and you'll intentionally not charge them for like 1 week or 2 weeks or something like that. They'll think, oh, brilliant, we've had this guy over, and they give me 35 jobs. And you think, well, who's really won in this scenario?
Yep.
You get it, especially in my industry, there's a lot of dick swinging and sort of arrogance. Not necessarily from the larger firms, obviously dealing with builders and stuff like that, it tends to be a bit ego driven. And similarly, I've had it before where I haven't charged someone intentionally for 1 or 2 weeks, and then next thing you know, 5 of their mates are coming over thinking if they can try and have me over as well. And then you just make sure you get every penny out of them. And you think, for the sake of 2 weeks hire, I've got 10, 15 other jobs and residual customers.
Well, and also with both of us in the more than one businesses we're involved in, the customer service is paramount. It's like the bedrock of everything that you're doing, because it is irrelevant of what you're doing. It's a transferable philosophy that you need to provide the best customer service you can for them, because that's how you retain and grow the business and the customer you're getting from there. Yeah.
It is with every business, though. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't really realise. It might be with the massive increase in IT businesses and the sort of faceless interactions we have with companies these days, is that people think they don't necessarily need that human interaction, and therefore they haven't trained themselves in order to learn how to deal with the human interaction better and generate more business off the back of it. It's sort of just like, a bit robotic, where they're like, well, I've been told to do this, so I'm going to do it this way, rather than in the way that, like, these are the rules that are sort of set for us to progress and work as a company. However, this scenario is slightly different, so the human element of it is, look, I'm going to see that this set of rules doesn't necessarily apply to this exact situation, so because of that, I'm going to handle it in this way, or, you know, do it in this way, rather than with, you know, we've all had it before, and we try and cancel something online or something like that, and you can't quite get to the right scenario, and in the end you just give up, don't you? Because it's a pain in the ass, and you want to just speak to somebody, and then you're on the phone for 45 minutes waiting to get hold of that human, and then the phone gets cut off.
Well, I had that exact thing with being on the phone. So my best mate got married a few weeks ago. That's the other thing that's happened. I was best man at a wedding. That was good.
Very nice.
So he got married. For the stag do before that, I had to organise a stag do for him, a few other guys, and then his the bride to be's 16-year-old cousin. So I had to kind of like tailor the day events to be like friendly for everyone. So we ended up going to Go Ape in Southampton, which was sick. That was so much fun. But I got the timing slightly wrong because I'd done axe throwing scheduled for the day at a different venue beforehand. But I got the timings a little bit wrong, so that we'd basically have to like sprint from one to the other. So I was trying to call Go Ape because this is the number to get it changed. I was on the phone to the number provided for an hour and 45 minutes.
It's painful, isn't it?
And I was just like, "There's no. Well, why am I doing this?" And in the end, because that didn't work. I emailed and they emailed back like straight away, and I was like, there was why was this so hard to sort of get this from there? But
was that a bot that emailed back there?
No, it was a lady. It was a lady who emailed back. But I was, well, or a very good bot. I don't know. Could have been. But I was just like, I don't. Like a lot of the banks now, they'll change things to bots. They'll change things to AI because it's a shorter term profit you're making because you're not paying someone for that job. But longer term, you're going to lose the customers because technology has evolved and it's gone beyond exponential. It's fucking like astronomical about how far, it's stratospheric about how fucking quick it is evolved. It evolves at an insane rate. It evolves quicker than the fucking COVID virus. Yeah. And it has gone something so crazy quick, whereas we've stayed the same thing for about 2 million years. Yeah. So all of our wires, neurons and feedbacks and everything is all still the same. So we still crave humanity. We haven't become a fucking machine yet in line with the machines. So some businesses now, like HSBC, for example, one of their USPs is English-based call centers. Mm-hmm. So they have...
It's a bit ridiculous that it had to get to that point, though.
Well, because there was that...
advertised that as like a good thing.
But it was because it was the trope that, you know, in the early 2000s, all these big companies, they outsourced all of their calls to fucking Bangladesh. Yeah. And that just became a stereotype, even though it was a real thing, because it was all, you know, it was a colony where they had like a surplus of people and a cheaper labour force, considering their population was, our entire country was not even a tenth of theirs.
Should we get some receipts?
Oh yeah, so right now I am quoting HSBC businessbanking.co.uk for this particular stat over here. So this is part of their USP. They employ more than 6,000 employees and answer 24 million calls a year.
169.4 million. That's in 2021 Bangladesh population.
Yeah, that's Bangladesh. That's I'm talking about like the whole. Yeah, it's just insane.
No, what I mean, the receipt I was looking for is.
Oh, I get you. Yeah.
How much larger they are than the UK.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon.
More than double.
Yeah, there you go.
120%.
Yeah, ridiculous, absolutely insane. But but again, it's so exciting because whatever venture we can do, I was having this. One of my colleagues was saying this to me, that just like, you know, this place has become like night and day in regards to a change in atmosphere.
What, the UK?
No, in my workspace, it's been night and day since, as she was saying, since I've joined from there. I was like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, you know, you brought all of those sort of skills that you've had from the suiting world, the housing world, all that sort of stuff, all about a service and the customer relations and everything from there. It's been completely different. Whereas everyone here has been so insular and in their way, in their own sort of like headspace and in their own direction and everything." And I was thinking, that is so baffling for me because I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
I've physically done nothing. I haven't done anything from being here. But I was just like, again, to the previous point, I was like, the bar was so low. It's so low.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't understand this.
And it is amazing how you can pick up certain skills and not even realise that they are valuable to other industries and companies and stuff like that.
Yeah, or those skills are not even there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they've just never had them.
Yeah, which is bizarre, because for all the faults of the place where you and I used to work, some fucking valuable lessons there. The customer service not being the least of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fascinating that you have, neither of us enjoyed our time there for certain periods of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the whole thing was unenjoyable.
No.
I'd say a lot of it was, although there's many times that it was enjoyable and I liked the learning and, as you say, the experience that we've got from it. But I think the number one thing, especially in customer service, which I don't know if it's our generation or just humans in general, how it's been like this throughout the, millennia, but the number one thing is effort. It's only effort. You haven't got to be smart. You haven't got to know the right answer. You haven't got to, be the best at your job. But if you put the effort in, that's 99% all the customer wants to see. You're going to get the 1% of person that no matter what you do and how much effort you put in, they're going to be a dickhead. But that's just because their missus had a go at them today and they just want to unload on someone else and blah, 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 blah. You're always going to get those. But effort. And it sounds ridiculous, but most people just have zero effort. As soon as anything gets a little bit difficult with a customer on the phone, or they're dealing with someone who they have a predisposition to not want to work with, or have decided halfway through the conversation, or even before the customer's even got to them, that look, I'm going to be offish with them, you lose. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And I think that's why, without blowing our own trumpets, I'm not the most intelligent person going, but my effort level is higher than most people I know. And it's not that difficult to muster up that energy in order to do it. Someone comes to you with a problem and you don't know what it is. Some people get flustered. They're, I'm going to know, well, I don't know how to do this. Or as you say, they go to the robotics. Well, that's not the rules. That's not what I've been taught to do. Blah, 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 blah. You've got to speak with the customer on an individual basis within the confines of what you've been told you can do. But then when the situation doesn't fit with those confines, you've got to say, okay, let me find out how I can resolve this. This is what I'm supposed to do, but you're asking for this. Let me see if I can help. And even if you come back to them and say, sorry, we can't do that, you're still better than the person that sat there arguing their point that, oh no, we can't do this because blah, blah, blah. Because all you're doing is winding up the customer. Even if you go away and do absolutely nothing and come back 10 minutes later, which I'm not advising you do, but the customer is immediately going to feel like they've been heard and you've at least tried to make the effort to improve their experience in whatever walk of life you're in.
Because I completely agree. I'm going to come back to your point about even if you walk away and do nothing, you're saying that's a bad thing. Obviously, that's not the ideal thing to do. But you could literally just do that.
Yeah.
If the customer has a better experience. Because even if you
give them a better experience, even if you know you can't do anything else,
even if you know that from the off, and it's not like you don't understand something. So even if you're new or if you're experienced, you can do the exact same steps. And you can go sit, go back to the office or whatever, wait there for a couple of minutes, and then come back and say, oh, no, unfortunately we can't do this, or actually, you know what, I haven't got an answer now, but let me take your contact details, get all the information I possibly can from you, and we'll get back to you. You know what, it's probably, because of where we are right now, unfortunately it's a Thursday, and no one does anything on a Friday, so it's probably not going to be till Monday that we're going to get an answer to you. And then I'll be like, okay, that's great, brilliant. And then by that point, you probably know full well you're going to get an answer by like the next morning. So then you contact them on the Friday, and they're like, holy shit, that was quick.
Well, it's setting people's expectations, isn't it? And I don't know, I guess we were taught this, or whether we picked up along the way, but 99% of all problems can be resolved by setting a customer's expectations. If you speak to them and say, look, I'm going to come back to you, and you don't set a time, like if you say, look, I know, like as you said, I know I'm not going to get an answer for 3 days. You say that, look, I know I'm not getting an answer for 3 days. It might not be the answer you want to hear, but I'm just, making it clear that I'm, the earliest I'm going to get back to you is in 3 days. But if you just say, I'll get back to you, 2 days go past or a day goes past, the customer's on the phone again, going, well, you said you'd get back to me. And then the person sat there going, I've seen it before, and they're going, well, it was always going to take me 3 days to get this information, but because you didn't tell the customer's pissed off. Whereas if you just said, look, I'm going to be 3 days, you call them back in 3 days, and they're like, oh, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. So that immediately looks good. And then as you said, if you come back in 2 days, they're like, shit, he said he was going to be 3 days, but he's come back in 2 days. And it's just all really minor things like that are all based just on a tiny bit of additional thought and effort, which massively increase the customer's experience for the company or even yourself as a person. And that's what we've learned that so many times, isn't it? We could be working for a firm or a company that we don't necessarily, our values align with, but we don't turn into that type of person because we know that we've got our own sort of ideas and self-respect, so that when we move to another company, they might go, oh, well, I know him from whatever firm it was, nearly said it, and he was really good, even though I didn't like the firm. Mm-hmm. He's now at a better firm, and I got on really well with him. Yep. So they're all immediately drawn towards you, and it just makes the process for whatever you're doing so much easier.
Yeah, there's so many elements to this, but I think the one that just sums it all up for what we were just talking about is under promise, over deliver.
Always. And it's such a simple tactic.
Yep.
And it works every time.
Yep. And there's an element to it where people need to be confident and comfortable with saying something that's uncomfortable for the customer to hear.
With saying no. Or...
Yeah, exactly. Or even just a simple, because a lot of the issues why I didn't get on so well with the estate agency, I think it's because of a maturity of this knowledge that I didn't have at the time.
Yeah, of course.
And some of the things was I didn't like, because you're not fucking around. You're dealing with where people are going to live. It's pretty important shit, and I didn't like. I wasn't comfortable with giving them uncomfortable answers. But it was stuff like, if you are getting comfortable with saying even something as basic as, yeah, I'm going to be there. I'll give you an answer in a week. And they're not going to be happy with that because they want an answer now. I would just say, I would make the exact mistake that we've just discussed about, let me find out and I'll let you know. And then they'll be annoyed why there was radio silence for a week. Yeah. The exact same thing. And then you just lose their business completely. Whereas if you said to them exactly, this is what it's going to be, and they're not going to like the answer and they're going to be rabbiting on you a little bit, then you just be sympathetic, or even more importantly, be empathetic. You'd be like, they're like, I'm so busy. I'm like, I know, it's terrible when you've got other things going on. It's really distracting, isn't it? It's really frustrating. I completely understand that from there.
And that's why I'm going to do this and this to make it easier for you. I'd love to be able to tell you, I can come back in a week, but I'm just being realistic with the situation that's going to occur.
Well, the absolute best example I ever heard from this was when we had one of the sales training things at the place we used to work. This guy came in and was just running the whole thing for the week. He gave a story about the best service he ever saw, and it was about going to, Barbados, waiting in the departure gate. The plane's been cancelled. All the flights have been cancelled because there's tornadoes in the Caribbean. So if we fly over there, we're all going to die. And so everyone's losing their shit. People are furious. They're angry. They want all their money back, and this and that, and this and that. So the captain comes down directly, and he's speaking to there's some guy who's like the most loudly angry person there, and he's speaking to the captain, and so the guy's yelling, and the guy's like, and what are you going to do about whatever? And the captain goes, you know what? If I was in your position, I would actually be even more angry than you are right now. Yeah. So thank you very much for being so reserved as you are. Because if I was like this, I'd be way more furious. I'd be way more angry than that. And it's an incredible tactic, because if you use that, and I've used it in every occasion I possibly can since then, it completely disarms the person who's having a complaint against you. Because if you're angrier or more perceived or more annoyed than they are, they're like, whoa, all right, calm down, mate. Yeah. They're like, what are you doing? So they just completely back down, because it diffuses the whole situation, because it they perceive that you care about it more than they do. And I've done it so many times, and it is insanely effective. It's crazy how well it works. And like, yeah, this would be something I would say, everyone listening right now, you can take this away today and you can try it at the next opportunity you have. If anyone is complaining to you about anything, you say, you know what, if I was you, I'd be more angry than that.
And it works because you're
well
empathizing with the customer or whoever you're speaking to.
Yeah.
And then also humanizing yourself. So you've broke down that barrier of you're the customer in the company. You're putting yourself in their shoes and saying, look, I'd be way more annoyed than you are. So I totally understand the scenario. This is what I can do to sort the situation out. And they're my parameters of dealing with it.
Yeah, and even if what you can do is bugger all, they're going to be like, thank you so much, I really appreciate that.
And
it goes such a long way.
Yeah, most of the time people just want to rant. And that's one thing I learned from the guy I worked with. And he was brilliant. He was actually the same age as me, but he'd been in the industry quite a lot longer than me. And he said, Max, most of the time they just want to moan, right? Let them moan. Don't say anything. Agree with them. Yep. No, I understand. Let them go on. They'll have a rant for 1, 2, 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes. But after that, they're done. And then you're like, okay, appreciate that. You've also then developed a better understanding of what this customer is like and what they want, what their expectations are. So you can set their expectations better. And at the end, you can say, I get it. Right, this is what I'm going to do to resolve the situation, or this is what I'm going to do to improve your experience, etc., etc. And it, as you said, it completely disarms them. And then you start building up that trust because you've showed that you're not just a robot, you're empathetic to their situation, and you start building that rapport. And once you've got the rapport building, as you said, that's transferable to the next scenario you see them. You could be working for a totally different company in a totally different industry, and they will remember how you dealt with that situation, and they'll appreciate that more. And what is it they say? That most people don't remember what you said or how you said it, but they remember how you made them feel. So as long as you can disarm them and make them feel like their point's been heard and their needs have been met to the best of your ability, especially going above and beyond, then you've won.
Yeah, I like that. That's very good. That's very good. Another facet of this is memory. If you can remember people's names and their faces, that alone is an insanely powerful technique, effect, whatever. It does you so many favors. Because there's people, when I was selling suits, there's people from the estate agent days who would come in, and I'd be like, John? And he'd be like, how the hell do you know me? I was like, oh, I used to work for them, and you had the place over here, and that was the one with it was on the 3rd floor. You was complaining about the lift being out, and you lived, 2 rows across from there. He was like, oh shit, yeah, bloody hell. And he just, and you could get, they spend so much more with you because they're like, bloody hell, this guy remembers my name, remembers my dog, he remembers, which car I was driving, all that little stuff and stuff from there. And because most people don't make the effort to even try and do that, but it's just little tricks about sort of memories. What we want to do, you want to be able to convert short-term memory to long-term memories, and that happens after like a window of repetition. So when I'm trying to learn new people's names, if you just say it out loud 10 times, that's now shifted from short-term memory to long-term memory because of the repetitions you put in through there. And so that alone is a really simple thing to do, and it just cements numbers in your head or names in your head. And again, it's that level of service to being really more personable. So like, if you kept coming in and buying suits from me, and I was just like, oh, it's so good to see you. I was like, hello, Max, how's it going? How's the family doing? It's all right. Yeah, you got a new place now, right? Yeah, well, how's that going through?
Yeah, personal bits about them. Yeah. They really appreciate that. And I've said it to my lads all the time is, I want to get stickers everywhere with the logo on the vans, on the toilets, on the containers, on the welfare units, on everything as much as we possibly can, every single place we can put them. And a lot of them sort of look at you like, why are you going through so much effort? And it's like, as you said, it's when you look at something for example, let's use the toilets as an example. If you've got 20 of them lined up, your conscious mind will see one sticker and say Mammoth, but your subconscious mind will look at all 20 of those toilets and go Mammoth, 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 Mammoth. You'll look away, you'll do it again and go Mammoth, 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 Mammoth. So every time you see it, it pushes it more into your subconscious, doesn't it? Which is the long-term memory.
Yeah, and that's going away from service. That's more sales techniques.
Yeah.
Whereas the average points of exposure anyone needs to make a sale is 7.
What, in terms of?
So if I don't know, if I'm Gillette, for example, and you're the consumer, I need to reach you 7 different ways for you to buy something from me, or /7 different times. So if I'm on the side of a bus, if I'm a sticker on a lamppost, if I'm an email, if I'm an advert on Facebook, if I'm on a T-shirt, if I'm in a film, if I'm mentioned in a book, 7 done. There you go. So if you had all of those, it might take a week, it might take 2 weeks, but you're going to be there going, you know what? Enough people are talking about and using Gillette. I'll give it a go. I think it's a good idea. It's like this whole thing about product placement. It's just the exposure everywhere, as many times as you can.
And the best product placement are the ones in films, aren't they? Where most people don't even realise it. And it wasn't until I got into sales that it really hit me properly. Where you say, like, let's use Iron Man as an example. Audi is all over the place in that film. In the backgrounds, in the cars that Tony Stark drives, in the books that he reads, in the newspaper he's reading, like, it's all just like randomly dotted around. It's not overtly Audi with the writing saying Audi in the name, but it'll just be the 4 rings. And again, every time you see it, even if you don't consciously pick up on it, that's being effectively sold to you each time you see it.
Do you know, for Robert Downey Jr., do you know what type of T-shirt he wore the most out of all of those films?
Go on.
A Black Sabbath T-shirt.
Yes, I remember.
Because they wrote the song Iron Man.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know.
Okay. He's always wearing Black Sabbath T-shirts. It's so good. Okay, what do you think is the one product that has the most product placements in all time in film and TV?
I would say Coca-Cola.
It's a good guess, but no.
Is it a beverage?
Not
a beverage.
You're gonna hit yourself when you realise what it is. It's in this room.
Fuck's sake. It's not a beverage.
No.
Is it Apple?
Yeah. Specifically.
iPhones?
No.
Macs?
Yeah. Specifically, this is the most.
And I see those in films all the time. I've got that laptop. Right.
2,227 films, 890 TV shows. But what's fascinating is that about half of the time the logo's covered.
Yeah, but you still know what it is.
Which is really interesting that they do that. That's fascinating. I wonder why they do that. Because it's obvious what it is, because it's specific design, it's because you've got the shape, the colour, the keypad, everything.
Well, you don't even need to see the symbol, do you?
And you know what it is,
design recognition.
Yeah, genius. Even other products are better, which, like a Lenovo would be like on par with this, for example. You still know exactly what this is.
Well, I think we've discussed it before. The difference is that is a fantastic piece of art.
Yeah.
As it is. Like this, Samsung, it's technically better than the Mac that I've got.
Yeah.
In terms of processing power, etc. And I'm not an IT nerd, so I don't know, but all the figures are better.
Yeah.
However, you've got a beautiful brush aluminium. It feels nice, like it's got a nice weight to it.
Yeah.
This is just really a plastic piece of crap. Like, look, I'm holding it there and I can feel it flexing. Like it's not the nicest thing to work with, even though it does the job and does everything it needs to.
Yeah.
I think we live in the age now where it's not just about productivity and how things work. It's all about enjoying the experience as we're going through, which sort of relates back to the customer service type thing. And it's like when you go to a hotel,
Definitely.
most of the time you can stay in an Airbnb for cheaper. However, you get to a hotel, you've got the concierge there.
Yeah.
They'll look after you. You've got all the extra services and bits and bobs, the room service, etc., that you can use, and people will tend to pay more for it.
And that's
worth it.
well, this is why. This is why, for everyone listening, Max and I are speaking today about customer service and why it's so important. People will pay more for a better service.
Mm-hmm.
Which, when you combine that with the fact that customer service perception is so low at the minute, is an incredible opportunity for all of us right now. For all of us, in anything that you're doing. If you're stacking shelves at Tesco, if you are answering the phones for Vodafone, if you are selling stuff, if you're the fucking bin man, anything at all, it is the absolute best thing you can do for yourself to make yourself better at any job that you're doing. Because also, it will put you head and shoulders above everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
which means you can progress within that business or that industry that you're in. But also, it is the number one most transferable skill. So you can change any industry that you want of any description. And with that level of service, you can learn anything from there, because they will let you through the door so much quicker and so much easier based on that one factor alone, regardless of any fucking degree or qualification or experience you might have. If you have this, your customers will be happy with you. Your customers will happy paying more because you are offering more to them. You are offering them you, and they're investing more in you because it's more enjoyable. It's a happier experience that they're having from there. So that's why it's so pertinent for everyone listening that this should be the number one thing that you are focusing on, and also it makes you happier as well.
Well, more importantly, in that respect, I say it to people all the time who I'm in dealings with, and annoyingly, you stole my adjective, but I am going to reuse it.
Let's go, baby.
As you were talking, I was like, this is exactly what I'm going to say. But it's more pertinent now that I'm a business owner. But I did know this previously, and this is why I always had the effort level I had, is other business owners are going to come into contact with you in your business. And if they see you and you're slow, you're sluggish, you're useless, you don't help at all, they're going to think, fucking waste of time, don't want to deal with him. But if you're excellent at your job, they're going to think, hang on, could this person fit in my business? And then you potentially got yourself a better job, higher pay, all of the perks that come along with it. And another thing I say when I'm sort of going down that route is to try and, you need to make examples or analogies for a lot of people to comprehend and understand things. Is Ronaldo, when he played his first game or football, whatever, did he go out and be like, oh, well, no one else is putting the same effort as me, so the same effort level as me in, so, well, I'm just going to do the same and not do that? Because all you do is you keep yourself down on this level. But Ronaldo had to show why he was worth X amount of millions before he got paid that. So you've got to show it first before you can get paid it. But if you never show it, you'll never be paid it. And you must have worked with people before as well, and you think, oh, fuck that, I'm not doing that because he doesn't do it. Why should I do it? And you're like, literally, I bang my head against the wall when I see that type of stuff, because I'm like, that's fine. Absolutely fine if you don't want to put the effort in or do extra or do this, or I'm not being paid for that, so I'm not doing that. Okay, cool, fine, stay down here. But if you go the extra mile next year or the year after, unless we have another drastic round of quantitative easing, we are going to be going into a recession. And in the recession, people have to make cutbacks. Now, the best people in the job don't get cut out when there's cutbacks. The worst people do. Now, you may, over the last 5 or 10 years, when everything's been good and business has been expanding and the economy's been growing, been able to fade away into the background with putting minimal effort in. But as soon as your shit hits the fan and the cutbacks come, you're going to be the first one axed. As I said, it's not going to be the best person because he's shown his worth. He's shown why we should keep him on. He's shown why he will get promoted, etc., etc., etc. But the people that have done the least amount, the light's going to be shone on them, and it's going to be like, okay, goodbye. And I don't know about you, but which position would you want to be in? You want to be the one that when shit hits the fan, or even when everything's going right, that you have multiple options to increase your value and your wealth, rather than having minimal options and you haven't really got any manoeuvrability to go anywhere. And the more options you have, the more you can negotiate. The more you can negotiate with your employer, the more you can negotiate with, same as like women. If you've got loads of women around, then you don't have to take shit from just one woman, like who's I don't know. We won't go too far into that because, people get a bit emotional about it. But
no, it's transferable. Yeah,
it's transferable to every aspect that you put yourself in. And again, same with Ronaldo. Well, if he didn't put the effort in and show that he was the best player in the world, he'd never be in the position that he is now. And that comes from our original point, effort level. He wouldn't have been the best person in the world at 16 years old, would he? But he continued to train and put that effort in order to progress up and push himself forward. Now, he probably, I don't know because I haven't watched football for a long time, he might not be the best player in the world anymore. There might be other better players that are much younger than him, but he's the one still getting paid the most. And that's only because he's got a track record of continually and constantly improving and being a better person and putting the effort level in. The same with anything. If you're going to make an investment in someone, you want to know that they've got a good track record, like a bank, like credit ratings, etc. Is a bank's not going to lend you money if you've got a poor history of paying money back. But when you get to a level when you've got a great track record and history behind you of paying credit, you don't even have to put any money down. The banks will come to you and say, look, here's £1 million, take it. I don't want you to put anything up. Obviously, you've got collateral, so they'll try and use that. But you haven't got to put a deposit down or anything, like for houses and cars and all this type of thing, because they know you've got a good track record of paying it back. And the more effort you put in this life, the easier things become. Sounds ridiculous. The harder you work and the more effort you put in, the easier everything is. But the least effort you put in and the least energy you project out, the harder it is for you. And it just becomes progressively worse or progressively better, depending on which channel or road you decide to take.
So, devil's advocate, what would you say about the phrase work smarter, not harder?
All the time. Oh, that's one of my favourite phrases, work smarter, not harder. However, you have to work, you still have to have the effort. Doesn't mean you can just do something smart, like, for example, professors. I mean, they're pretty smart, but most of the time they don't really work cleverly in the environment that we live in. Hence why they end up just staying as being professors, etc., rather than choosing a different avenue to make money or progress. That was just a random example, so I don't want any professors out there getting, exaggerated and pissed off.
Yeah, I'm curious to know. Well, I don't know, because if you're looking at standard.co.uk, I don't know what that is, saying a single pay survey, a university salary for a lecturer is 40 grand, senior lecturer 50, associate professor 64, full professor 90.
I mean, it's not bad.
It's interesting.
But then my argument on that would be how long and how many years do they need to put in to get to that level?
It's a very good question. And also, if you're at that level, to be a professor, you're going to have a bachelor's, a master's, one, maybe 2 PhDs.
So what investment have you had to put in order to get that return?
So let's say 30 for the bachelor's, double that for a master, 60, and then another 2 on top of that, 200k.
Plus, all during that period of time, you're not earning money because you're studying.
And you've got accommodation as well, so yeah, $500,000.
So you've got a terrible ROI there, and a massive opportunity cost that you're not generating income while you're doing that. And that's one thing, I think we said it before, is, I speak to lots of people who went to university just because they didn't know what to do, and they just got a random degree in something that they're never using. Whereas I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just went working. And then I fell into sales. Not really fell into sales, I made the decision to do it because it's something that I wanted to use to improve my life in general.
Mm-hmm.
And during that period, my friends were at uni paying whatever it is, 20 grand a year, because they had the accommodation, meals, all those types of stuff on top of the obviously university fees. Whereas I was getting paid to learn my trade, which is more transferable than a bottlenecked degree. And it just, to me, the ROI on that is absolutely useless and ridiculous. Unless, as we said before, you've got an idea that you want to specifically be a doctor or a historian or something like that, and you're not necessarily worried about the money. It's more to do with the love of the subject that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great. Crack
Yeah.
on. And again, we all need, in a interdependent society, we all need those various different facets. But I think these days, especially with social media, it's poisoned a lot of people's minds where they want everything all at once. And as we know, you can never have everything all at once, no matter what it is. But especially if you're not pursuing a high income career, you're always going to leave yourself vulnerable to the changes in the market. You know, house price increasing, inflation, anything like that. And that's why I always thought for myself the best way forward is just try and make as much money as I possibly can, so that then I can do whatever I want after that. Even if I want to do nothing, I'm safe and secure. But you're not boxed in by that degree that you got, or the job you've been there for 5 years and you're worried about changing because you'd have to relearn and drop on salary, and you've got a mortgage, kids, all those types of things. Like, it starts piling on, especially when we get to our age, which are very old. There's a lot. It's much more difficult to manoeuvre when you're young. That's why you need to learn as many skills as you can and get out as much as you can in order to progress.
It's interesting to say that. We'll carry on from that. I just want to backpedal a little bit on what I said about loans. So bachelor's degree is 30k, master's is 10, PhD is another 30. So yeah, 70k you're looking at. So I was miles off in my estimation, but still big chunk. It's fascinating what you're saying from there. There was something when I first started getting individually educated by podcasts, the people who had, were in their middle age and they'd achieved something, they said the number one thing that they had is they took risks when they were younger. And saying that if you're young, the time to take before you have a family, before you get married, before you settle down, before you have a mortgage, the time to take risk is now, because you can afford to lose everything and you'll be fine, because you haven't gone that far enough, so you haven't got as much to lose. And it's only been in the last less than a year that I've implemented that in 3 different ways from those there, which is for you to find out in the future. But it's funny that you can hear something for so long, but it takes a certain amount of time, whether for it to be repeated and for it to go in, or for things to slot into place, or for things to be written down on a nice big spider diagram, so you work out exactly what you want for it to then all lock into place, and then you fucking take it. Because, similar to yourself, I have begun the same journey of being a small business owner like yourself, but I'm just right at the beginning compared to where you are. So I've only been there for nearly 4 months.
Which is the hardest part, is to keep pushing forward when you haven't got any income coming in.
Yep.
You're not earning anything from it, and you're still trying to find outside sources in order to fund your business.
Yeah, which is exactly what I've had to do. Yeah.
And it's all about effort level. If you just give up as soon as it gets tough, you're fucked, isn't it? There's no point even bothering to start if you can't push yourself through those tough times.
And creating a business is the same as it's a creative endeavor more than a analytical endeavor, because you're making something from there. And with any creative endeavor, as long as you're constantly putting things out there and you're constantly reviewing what you've already done, the only way to fail is to give up.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the only. As long as you're always trying and you're always looking at it and always reviewing it and tweaking it, the only way to fuck up is to stop. That's the only way. It's like with this, for example. The only way for us to fail at this is if we just gave up. That's it.
Yeah, and there's, in terms of all the... Well, let's go back to the spider diagram. Now, as we said before, you can't have everything all at once. So if you're going to try and get everything all at once, you're guaranteed to fail.
Yep.
Unless you're
An octopus.
Yeah, even if you're one of the most intelligent people in the world and you've got the most effort level and you're highly athletic and you tick all the boxes, you still can't have everything all at once. So you've got to, like I said to you about the spider diagram, is identify what you want first and what would be the most pertinent thing to help progress you in the other aspects of what it is you want, and go for that, and then build it up to the next one, and then build it up to the next one. And once let's use Richard Branson as an example. He started just with, what was it? Is it the Student magazine? Or something
I think
like
so.
That? I think he started with the Student magazine. Then he started selling the advertising space in the Student magazine, and then he started selling records in the back of the Student magazine. And he found that actually the records were selling better than the Student magazine. So then they started Virgin Records and started selling loads and loads of records. Build it up from there. Now he's a massive multinational corporation. I was reading today, which I didn't know about, that Virgin Media owns O2. They bought O2.
Ah, shit me. Okay.
Which I did. Well, I didn't even know that. I knew they were quite a big media firm, but I didn't realise they were they owned O2 with. I think it's 50-50 with Telefonica. But again, he couldn't have done that all at once. He had to do it as a progressive stage and strategy. He's got Virgin Airways, he's got Virgin Holidays, he's got Virgin Cruises. They've got so many different facets of that business, and it would have been impossible for him to start those all at once. You have to start it bit by bit, and it's with the exponential growth, like we've discussed from compound interest, or the compound effect, is once it starts snowballing, then you can get bigger, then you can take other risks and obviously calculated risks. They've got to be thought about and not just jumped into willy-nilly. But as long as you're careful with your money and how you work it, you can invest it into various different things or start new businesses. I think for Richard Branson, he's a very creative person, wasn't he? So he I don't necessarily think it's probably to do with the money, like most people at first. However, after it got to a certain point, it was all about creating new opportunities for whether it's for himself or his family, or just because he enjoyed the process of creating and running things like that.
Absolutely. And Virgin's a fantastic example, because it goes from a company that started off selling magazines to now earning something called Virgin Galactic, which is a space
mental, isn't it?
A space tourism company, which is just remarkable. That from such humble beginnings, that's what they had from there. Incredible. Jesus Christ, this thing is not even 2 decades old.
What?
It's 19 years. Oh no, it's Virgin Galactic. Never mind. I was thinking about Virgin itself. Yeah, Virgin Galactic. Yeah, I was like, what? Yeah, Virgin Galactic is 19 years old.
Well,
that would be a problem.
You're like this one, Matt.
Go on.
But even with my business, there's an element of serendipity about it. I started doing shipping containers. That's how I started. I started renting shipping containers to building sites and stuff like that. And people kept asking me, do you do portable toilets? And at first I was like, no way I'm getting involved in that. Like, not interested in dealing with people's shit. Don't want to deal with it. Blah, 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 blah. After about 10 or 15 times of being asked, I was like, the world is trying to tell me something here. And I can choose to ignore it, or I can give it a go and see how it works. Gave it a go, pushed into it, and I'm assuming this is probably what Richard Branson did. There's elements of life that a door opens and you've got to take the risk and just go for it. I took the risk, and it worked out really well for me, which helped me progress my original business of the shipping containers, because it got me on other building sites in front of builders and in front of event customers that wanted the shipping containers and welfare units, and it all sort of built from there. You need the constant effort level to keep flipping it over and over and over again, and that element of delayed gratification to keep pushing forward through the tough times. But the main point on that is you can't be too rigid with the details of how you're going to achieve your goal. You want to be rigid in the goal and what you want to achieve, but the way you get there, as long as it's, not illegal or it doesn't, go against your morals, etc., and your values, then you've got to be flexible in how you can achieve it. And some things you're going to try and they're not going to work, and other things, they might take off. But if you sit there and do fuck all, like we said before, nothing will happen. You've got to grab something and just get hold of it and move forward and see how it goes. And I can imagine that's what Richard Branson's done, and that's why he's such a successful man. And now he's at a point where he fucking does what he likes. He's got his own island. I'm pretty sure he lives on that island.
He does, yeah. Yeah. That's another level. Do you know Eddie Murphy owns an island?
Does he?
Yeah.
Good lad. I like a bit of Eddie Murphy.
Absolute god. Absolute god. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. It's interesting. I'm at such an early point that I'm not in a position to be sort of discussing publicly what I'm trying to do. I'll explain to you in a minute. But it's so interesting to see, in the same sort of vein that you're talking about with Virgin and Richard Branson is you have the core business that makes money, and then you sort of tentatively stretching out further from there to be like, okay, this thing here is my bread and butter. Let's see if I can do the same thing with this over here. Yeah. And you're like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. That does, but only if I get it at X. Otherwise, I'm just making a loss. Yeah. Or you're like, oh, there's actually this other part of the this whole system as well that you haven't looked at before. Oh, there is demand for that as well. Okay, let's do that as well. And it's just picking it pieces from there. But it's and also it ties into the compound effect we're talking about, whereas you have X amount for a starting value, you obviously you do the whole process, then you get 25% return. So you're like, cool, I have that profit banked, let's do it again. And then you do that 25%, you do that 4 more times. Cool, now let's get 2. And then you repeat from there. Yeah. And then you just can get that return back even quicker. Okay, now let's do 3. And then so on and so on and so on. So then the volume of what you're turning over is higher because you get the higher amount. But it also means you can afford, okay, I have a higher amount of disposable income from the profit coming back. So now I can try this other stuff because this is still cycling through and it's still getting bigger and bigger and growing and growing. But it's the delayed gratification that you're talking about as well. Because if I'd started spending this money right at the beginning, it would have died in the water.
Yeah, and I'm still at that stage now where, I can start spending the money that I have in my company. But why would I? Because it's going to keep me at that level I'm at the moment. I haven't got any children or any major outgoings in my life. So why would I throw it away with instant gratification, cars?
Yeah.
Holidays, you've got to have a holiday. I do agree with that. Cause for my first sort of 3 or 4 years, I didn't have any holidays, and it really ran me down and affected me physically and mentally, which then had a knock-on effect on my business.
Yeah.
However, you've got to constantly be progressing and pushing in the aspect that you're in.
Yeah.
And why would I spend all this money on other things when I could just reinvest it into the business and grow the size of it, which means in 6-12 months' time, I'm going to have far more coming out than I would have if I just stopped now. And
it's an interesting thing as well, because if so for everyone listening, be very jealous because Max and I are going to go see 50 Cent Piece in a few weeks' time. If we'd had that gig back in summer, I would have been like, shit, I can't afford that because I haven't got anything from now. Where we are right now, I paid you money for that yesterday. I've already made that money back, so it's already paid for itself. And I was like, great, I haven't had to do anything. And it's like, there you go. But it's also the difference of if I'd made a different choice back in summer and either spent that money that I had initially either differently or just blown it, I wouldn't have been in this position right now to then be able to, I'm at a point where, it takes a day and I've got it back. And it's like, there you go.
And that's the main thing, is just constantly staying steadfast in your conviction of what you're looking to achieve. Otherwise, you can throw it away so easily.
It's very interesting because this ties in this whole thing about sort of delayed gratification, or actually no, more pertinently, that's our word of the day. The difference between pleasure and happiness. I was listening to Mary. I can't remember her name.
Mary Berry.
No. Oh, that'd be good. There's a lady on Chris Williamson. She's talking about how the sexual revolution has failed everyone.
Yeah, go on.
And she was saying that what it has done is that's hyper focused on pleasure over happiness, because people are, for so many reasons, the number one being that you've decoupled sex from intimacy and family.
Yeah.
There's so many unexpected ramifications of the sexual revolution of it created the phenomenon of the single mother home.
Yeah.
Abortions went up 75%. The fact that there's bugger all father, you've kind of taken away what it means to be a man, because the single most determining factor for an extension of a man's life is being a father.
Yeah.
That is that above everything else that's going to make him live longer. Exactly. And
as men, sorry to interrupt, but as men, we are inherently stupid. I know women are going to love me saying that, but we're
fucking dumb
and dangerous, and we love taking risks and love fucking around and causing problems for ourselves, etc. But as you said, the number one humbler of a male is to have a kid and realise, look, shit, I need to look after him. I need to be there. And I haven't got kids, you haven't got kids, so we can't really say like that we gospel know that. But just speaking to people that have kids, they all say exactly the same thing.
Well, it's empirical evidence.
Exactly, yeah.
Huh.
And you realise that now I have someone to live for other than myself. And I have no choice but to calm down in certain aspects that might not be beneficial to the family around me.
It's a different thing if you're in a loving relationship. Yes, you're living for that person, but that is an independent person who can fend for themselves. Children can't do that. They are entirely dependent upon you, so you have to be there. And the other thing that Mary was saying is that the introduction of the pill eliminated shotgun weddings. Because
you get pregnant and then they get married.
Yeah, because what it did is that if you have the pill, specifically the pill, other forms of contraception is a different story, but she was saying that with the pill itself, it put all of the emphasis on the woman. So if the woman got pregnant, it's kind of her fault, is how she's saying it.
Yeah.
Not sure I fully agree with that, but I completely understand the psychological perspective of that. Is because if you put it entirely in their hands, if it then doesn't work, that's then her problem, or that's then her fault. Yeah. Whereas if people got pregnant accidentally, there was then two people go, all right, cool, now what do we do, kind of thing. And I didn't realise we
both chose to make a decision, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Whereas weak men would argue, oh, well, she was on a pill, so how did I know?
Precisely, and it's nothing to do with me. And you know, for a guy's job in sex or a guy's job in making a kid, it can last anywhere from 30 seconds to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas for a woman, it lasts 9 months. So for a guy, he can just fucking be like, bye, and just vanish. And there's no accountability, there's no nothing from there, which was the unfortunate inadvertent effect of the sexual revolution of promoting casual sex.
For men as well, whereas previously it was like, well, you got a woman pregnant, now you have to make, what's the phrase they say? You have to make a good woman out of her, or something like that. Which basically, you had to marry her.
You had to marry her, and you had to bring her up, because this is your responsibility.
Exactly, because you fucked up here.
Well, and the point that Chris made, which was fucking outstanding, is that men will meet whatever standards are expected for them sexually. So to get sex, they'll meet whatever standards that is, however high or however low that is. If back in the day before all of this, you had to be upstanding member of the community, you had to have done your military service, you had to be educated, you had to be, you had to be a religious man, you had to be giving, you had to be charitable, you had to have good relations with everyone in the town, you had to ask the father's permission, because you had to be a man who was ready to go, who had everything there to look after her and to build a life with her from there. Men met that consistently time after time after time. That's why we're all fucking here right now. You take that away, whereas all you have to do right now is be at the right place at the right time, which is mildly drunk at 2 a.m. Why would a man be educated? Why would a man look after himself? Why would he, work on himself? Why would he exercise? Why would he eat well? Why would he educate himself? Why would he look after others? Why would he give a shit? Whereas he doesn't need to get sex, which is the number one driver for most people, is sex. And if the bar is so low, or if we're looking at it from a perspective of, the sex workers, where you have sex positivity and it's great to be a sex worker and all that sort of stuff, when that's promoted and drilled into people, women think they have to haul themselves out, and men be like, great,
And
brilliant. I'm in a society where women are told to be the supply. Fantastic, cool, and it doesn't cost me that much. Let's go.
And they think it's okay. Do you know what I mean?
And you're being the worst part. Told it's okay.
Yeah, and I was watching a comedian the other day, and I think it was a she, but she was basically saying feminism's like the dumbest shit I've ever heard, because she was saying that so free the nipple, you can walk around with your tits out. That's really going to show those men, isn't it? That's really going to piss them off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, free sex for everyone and with no commitment. These men are really going to...
They're going to be so annoyed.
Be annoyed with this. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's ridiculous how...
It's so absurd.
That was sort of pushed that way. And I do agree that with the free sex community, or whatever you want to call it, it has lowered the bar for everyone. Because it's the women have lowered the bar... Can't really say they're the start of it, but the pill has given them the excuse to lower the bar in terms of, just having sex with anyone for whatever reason, going out and getting pissed. How many people do you know that are ladies and males that will go out and think, just get pissed tonight and then just go shag some random person?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it was normalised in our generation, but the older I've got, I've realised that it's actually quite weird and very strange to just randomly be that intimate with someone that you've never met and probably will never meet again.
Really sad.
And as you say, because the females have dropped the bar, it's allowed men to drop the bar, which means it's fucking worse for them. And we've said it before, female are the gatekeepers to sex, but men are the gatekeepers to relationships. And the females, in my humble opinion, need to, and it's not everyone's like this, there's plenty of excellent women out there. So I'm not going to say that, there's nobody is like this, but I see with a lot of young females that they need to push their standards up to force the males to come with them.
Completely agree.
Otherwise, we drop down to this level of debauchery or whatever, and the men are just useless fucking twats that reduce the level of safety in society that we all live in and are going to, bring and grow our children, I think. I
completely agree, because you've got, these are the unintended consequences of the pill. All of the intended consequences, which was
short term as
well. More, well, I would say all the good stuff. So the more financial independence or more financial parity, which control over your reproductive cycles.
Only increase inflation.
Separate point. Separate point. Stop it. True, but separate point. Parity of income, education, control over your reproductive cycle, freedom, etc., to be out of abusive relationships, so that's what we end up with it. All of those things, fantastic, brilliant. I come from both of us where we have females as our siblings and family members. Brilliant. I wouldn't want to take anything away from them. So, but to make sure that to rectify these issues that we're having, we do not take anything from women, but we fucking ask more from men.
Yeah,
absolutely is what we do from there. Yeah. But it's also, why do we think?
Because we're interdependent. It's not just the females that are starting this.
Yeah,
it's that we've both, either side, have lowered ourselves, a notch at a time. And
the problem we have with everything being so focused about the media and magazines and newspapers, it makes men and women appear adversarial, which is fucking nonsense, because
it's a divide and conquer tactic, isn't it?
Precisely.
We see it in everything: black against white, gay against straight, rich
against
poor,
focused. Stay focused.
Male against female.
Yeah, it's for this
Jew against Palestine.
For this exact so this exact point is that we are not adversaries. We are partners. We are, as you say, we're interdependent upon one another in a fantastic way, because we can create amazing things, not least of which is life.
And everybody is in that respect.
Yeah,
we've got the hospitals, without the bus drivers, the taxi drivers, the people that cook our food, the people that deliver our food. Every single person is required in this society. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a job role for it.
Yeah,
and it's all needed.
Yeah, I'm 95%. There's a few job roles that are made up. Prime minister being one of them. But
it's a job that's needed.
It is. I'm just fucking with
everything.
Yeah, but but it's no surprise that why is there greater dissatisfaction from women due to the word, it's gone from my head,
hypergamy.
due to hypergamy, women want a man who's equal or higher than them socially, financially, all that sort of stuff. It's not surprised that they are listless and without a man, because men, again, because of the price of sex has dropped, men have sunk lower and lower and lower. Why? It's no surprise that men by 2030 there'll be 50% less men than there are women completing, university degrees. It's no surprise that they are leaving higher education way before they even finish that from there. It's no surprise in that, I think as of right now, women make 12% more than men do for the same job. So the gender pay gap has flipped. The gender pay gap has flipped.
So
actually, let me
start
find this.
fighting the gender pay gap.
Hang on.
These bloody women taking more money. It's unfair.
Women average higher pay than men.
Where's this from? Wikipedia?
Engenderhealth.org. Wikipedia is fucking nonsense.
Oh no, that's what I meant.
Absolute nonsense. But yeah, it is fascinating. It's very, very interesting. Yeah, very interesting that's changing.
It's crazy. But I wanted to touch back on a point that we were talking about earlier in terms of, business and progression and stuff like that. And this can be transferred to every single thing you do in life. Literally, the relationship with your partner, your fitness level, your healthy eating, your business, blah, blah, blah. But it's all about creating systems. And that's the one thing that I've learned, especially over the last couple of years, is especially as a business owner, at first, you're the one that does everything. So you are effectively self-employed. So it's not really about systems. It's about you doing the work. And then when you start progressing up and employ people, it's more about, instead of working in the business, you'll be working on the business. And my role these days is to create systems. That's all I do. I create a system, I test it, trial it out, change the bits in and out that work and that aren't working, and then once that system is perfect and ready to go, pass it on to someone else, employ someone to deal with that for you, and then you move on to the next system, whatever it is, accounts or route planning or generating business, BDM or something like that. And it's amazing how once you really grasp that that's what you're doing, because it took me a while to really understand that that's actually what I was doing. I was creating systems, and that I'm now a system creator, and that still has that element of creation, which you get the enjoyment and the endorphins popping off in the brain from. And especially to the young business owners and entrepreneurs who want to get out there, is everything, as I said, is about a system. Even if you're buying a house or you've got multiple properties, it's all about making sure the systems run efficiently and effectively as possible, so you can reduce the amount of downtime in any aspect of whatever it is and increase the amount of output you're getting from the input usually being money in for what you get in return. So making the system, whatever it is, as easy as physically possible to get around and quicker to maneuver, so that you can get the job done quicker, move on to the next one. But you can only do that by doing the job yourself, or being around the people that are doing the job and constantly seeing what they're doing, how they're doing it, and then switching in different aspects to, as you say, reduce time and increase productivity. And it's probably the most important thing you can be doing.
I like it. Mate, that's a beautiful point to end on.
Lovely. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one.
Peace out.